All right. We can start whenever.
Yeah. So
I'll
we
I'll
didn't
give a
plan
little
this out at
intro.
all.
No, we didn't. Welcome everyone to the Isle of Rangoon Under the Table, our behind the scenes, out of character thing that we're doing now. I
Yeah.
guess this is a documentary series if we're feeling like being overly generous with ourselves.
I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not.
I'm Trent,
I'm Greg,
and
and
today,
behind me is a spaz of a dog.
and behind me is a poster for The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum. Because I have neither man nor beast that cares about me.
Nor taste.
Anyhow, that is the best movie about a man turning into an insect that has been made in the past 20, 30
Starring
years.
Jeff Goldblum.
Now, come on, that's a wide field of movies that involve Jeff Goldblum becoming an insect. Because finally, it's nice that there was a film that didn't have him in the makeup chair for hours before shooting. Everyone knows he's a gigantic mantis. At least that's what I say to make that. What is he on? Which Law and Order is he on now?
Oh God, I don't know. I stopped watching.
I just can't wait till they have a network for that. The Law and Order network.
Missing bike unit. Complaints from Mrs. Feeblemeister, age 63. Unit.
Dick Wolf's Law and Order babies. It'll happen.
Oh.
But we've already murderously strayed off topic. Today we are talking about fan panic of a golden variety.
Yeah, not too long ago, I think this would be a couple days, and this was something we're planning on doing this series anyway, but this gave us kind of a really good opportunity to jump into something that will make us enemies. A couple of days ago, Michael Bay made a press release or something about his production company and all that is working on the new Ninja Turtles movie, and he made a statement. Do you have the statement up? I don't actually have it up. I'm hideously unprepared.
Okay,
The exact
let me
quote.
pull that up. I can get the exact quote.
Yeah. The
While I'm doing this,
basic upshot.
while I'm doing the research we should have done before we turned on the damn camera. Let me just introduce my relationship to the Ninja Turtles franchise. Now, as a lot of people who are watching this know, we are both big Transformers geeks, so we're no strangers to what Michael Bay does to a given franchise. You know, we've lived through it. We've seen that that battlefield. But I
And
as a
all the
kid,
collateral damage that surrounds it.
yes.
That he had
Now,
nothing to
as
do
a
with.
kid, though, I was very into Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
I wasn't so
As a
much.
kid,
That kind of tail ended about the time when that brief moment where it was like not cool to be into toys and all that. And I mean, that
Well,
period very
yeah,
quickly died, but still.
it basically with me the cycle went like this: saw the miniseries on TV on the local Fox affiliate in Tulsa, loved it so much I wrote a letter to the network that I sent to the Fox station asking for them to please show more.
Hmm.
Then once that was done, waited around for what seemed like an eternity for the actual first season to start after the miniseries. Waited for the Nintendo game for ages.
Was hideously disappointed by the Nintendo game.
It's not disappointment. That game hurt me.
Okay, it's frustration.
Yeah, that game punched me in the face a whole lot. There's no reason the Ninja Turtles game should be that crazy hard. The arcade game, though, I spent like $50 on the arcade game, sum total.
Yeah.
That was a ton of fun. Loved the cartoon, and then that was right at the tail end of my, cartoon watching era, or at least the admitting to watching cartoons era.
Yeah.
So that moved directly into me using the black and white Eastman and Laird comics as an excuse to continue my my fandom. And I'm not saying that they're bad. In fact, I love them. But part of the reason I interact with fandom the way I do is I know what's happening when you're in that insecure, I know I'm liking something I'm not supposed to like, so I'm going to go for the adult, edgy version to make it seem less childish. Because that was me in Ninja Turtles for a really long time. I had a brief, like, black and white Eastman and Laird Ninja Turtles snob period. And then I got over it and went, oh, well, yes, I'm into stupid shit, but so is watching football. And so, yeah.
Which, actually, that kind of segues into one of the things... No, I'll say that. Well, I'll just say it now. As far as Michael Bay goes, and I've said this publicly and I'll say it again, I would rather watch any given Michael Bay movie than any given sporting event on TV. Unpopular opinion, but I'll stick to it. They're about the same.
Well, yeah, it's most sporting events, yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things I might prioritize over, but they don't really call them sports outside of, small Polynesian countries. So, if it shows on the Ocho, I'm fine with it. Yeah. Roll that one around on your tongue and enjoy it. But,
that's a horrible
yeah, I found the quote,
dude.
by the way.
But at any rate, have you found the Bay quote?
Yeah. I found the Bay quote. Michael Bay is quoted as saying, and this is actually on the Huffington Post, which sort of sums up slow news day to me. But the quote is, "These turtles are from an alien race," he said, "and they are going to be tough, edgy, funny, and completely lovable." And as anyone who has been
intimated before that this has caused
any web forum ever, oh my goodness, a fan panic. This has caused the nerd equivalent of people flipping cars and burning them in the streets, like soccer hooligans on the internet. And you know what? I can understand it. A lot of people really took offense at the Transformers movies, and a lot of people, they're younger than us, typically, but there's a lot of people who are really, really into Ninja Turtles, or aren't really into Ninja Turtles, but were really into Ninja Turtles when they were 8.
They have fond memories.
And as anyone knows, those half-remembered fond memories will make you a more savage critic than being actually really obsessively into something. Because all you have is the memories, and those things are golden compared to reality. Ask anyone who liked the old Thundercats cartoon.
I was into the Thundercats cartoon as a kid, and then they started airing them on Toonami with Moltar as the host.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I remember going, oh, great, Thunder... Oh, shit. I liked crap, didn't I?
See, I gained an all-new appreciation for them because they were pants-on-head crazy. Robot teddy bears that grow candy fruit and are enslaved by a giant ogre. It's like the 3rd episode. And let us not forget Snarf-Ra the Everliving.
Now, Snarf-Ra the Everliving is one of the coolest things in the history of everything, so,
Well, yeah, it raises severe questions about Mum-Ra, though. I mean, how much of a loser is Mum-Ra that the ancient spirits of evil are like, you know what? We're going to give the Snarf these powers just because he asked.
Or how stupid are the ancient spirits of evil?
Yeah, you know what? It either the ancient spirits of evil are not terribly picky, Mum-Ra is the best they can find and nobody else has figured out the magic words, or Snarf has some severe questions to answer.
Any rate,
Lino, you might want to check his browser history. That's all I'm saying.
We've deviated heavily again.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Michael
Bay has said that the Ninja Turtles are aliens, and now there's cannibalism and fire.
I think it's probably the best thing to start with is just the words "calm down." Stop.
Yeah, calm down.
As people we have been living and watching the fan panic, the hatred, the effigies for, 6 years? going on 6 years.
Going on about 6 years
About
now.
2006 is when the first Transformers movie started severe into production, and in those 6 years, watching 3 movies go through, we have learned one thing about Michael Bay and statements made about any movie he's working on in these capacities. He is a liar.
The man is a liar.
He is big. I mean, I'm not saying this has nothing to do with quality of movie. This has everything to do with the content of movies. He intentionally spreads misinformation.
And this is something that the people who are Ninja Turtles fans and aren't into Transformers, weren't paying attention to what was going on with the Transformers movies, won't know. But basically, in the era of everything will be spoiled before the movie comes out, unless you are very careful to avoid it, Michael Bay spreads intentional disinformation about almost every project he works on, and he spread a lot with the Transformers movies. He was denying that Megatron was in Dark of the Moon.
Revenge of the Fallen.
Revenge of the Fallen, sorry. He was denying that Megatron was in Revenge of the Fallen after there were pictures of his toys and after there were pictures of him of the vehicle, like the props
After
and
we'd
stuff.
seen the trailer with
After
Megatron.
the trailer in which he shows up, yeah.
And
you know,
that even extends to on-set vehicles. I mean, we saw... Weren't there like 3 Barricade cars at Dark of the Moon shooting? And while Barricade was in Dark of the Moon, we never saw him in cop car mode.
Right. There's a lot of disinformation going on. As far as anyone can tell right now, you guys are getting punked.
Yeah.
Now,
here's the other thing about Bay. He's good at... He's got you talking. Let's face it, this little bit of news has probably gotten the fact that there is a Ninja Turtles movie coming out more press than announcing there's a Ninja Turtles movie coming out. And you can say that, oh yeah, it's bad press, people are complaining. There is some validity to the old phrase that any press is good press. Because let's face it, Transformers has gotten bad press. The Transformers movie series has gotten bad press for 6 years. Despite that it's made $86 quadrillion million.
Right, and it will get people in seats. The controversy will get people in seats. Compare this to the problems that John Carter has been having, in which nobody is talking about it, despite it being a brilliant, brilliant adaptation of a 100-year-old story, because the marketing sucked.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody had sowed the seeds of some controversy around that, then maybe I might be getting John Carter and the Gods of Mars
as action figures
in another 2 years. Oh, okay, I want me a Tars Tarkas. But finally a decent Tars Tarkas design, and I'm not getting a figure of it, and jeez. Anyhow, back to Bay.
It is smart marketing, because let's face it, if it turns out, no, they're not from an alien species, everybody, we got it fixed, it's good again, it may not be good, but
yeah, then the fan panic was rewarded and everyone is happy, and the ring has been hurled into the depths of Mount Doom. So yeah, but there's a second thing in that the statement that Bay has made is incredibly vague and could technically, if one was willing to bend the English language far enough, apply to every Ninja Turtle series except the movie series.
Yeah, from the very first comics, the mutagen, most people know, the mutagen that turned them into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came from aliens, TCRI aliens.
Came from
aliens.
In
the cartoon,
came from the TCRI aliens.
It was Krang, who was basically a repurposed TCRI alien. That 2000s.
Yeah, he was still an alien. He was an alien from Dimension X. And then in the more recent cartoon series, it's once again the TCRI Utrom aliens.
And probably whatever the new one on. Is it Nick that it's airing on now? Or will be airing?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine that they're not going to. I mean, Peter Laird has his hands in everything that happens now, since Eastman sold out his half of things. And I can't see him letting that slide. Maybe a movie might get away from him, but not a cartoon series. Yeah. You got to remember that this is a guy that was smart enough to have taken a cut of the merchandising for Ninja Turtles back in the 80s and can now buy and or sell any one of us 50 times over.
Well, speaking of roles, I think it's also worth noting Michael Bay's role He is not as far as we know, he's not the director of this. They haven't signed a director
Right.
as far as
According
we
to
know.
Internet Movie Database, he's just a producer.
A producer. Not even the executive producer?
One of several. No, I don't think so. Hang on. Once again, showing my incredible preparedness. And while I'm looking this up, let's talk the other movies. Okay, so let's say worst case scenario. Let's say the Ninja Turtles are aliens, which then just makes them have something in common with the evil snapping turtle Slash from the Archie comics. But let's say that they are aliens, and that does ruin everything, which is two major leaps. Because for all we know, they just say, yeah, alien hatchlings raised by a mutant rat, whatever.
Yeah.
Or aliens that have taken the form of, or possessed, or any number of scenarios. Let's say that's there and it kills the movie. What this means is that you would have a bad Ninja Turtles movie. Which means that it would be just like all of the Ninja Turtles movies, except the first one. Which was pretty okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first one. The second one was... I kind of like Toka and Razar, and then Vanilla Ice showed up on screen, and all hope and joy died in the world.
Yep, executive producer is a guy named Eric J. Crown, who is done nothing else ever, according to Internet Movie Database.
Promising.
But hey, the two screenplay writers worked on Alias.
Not bad.
And Life on Mars. I've heard good things.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard good things. And She Spies, which is brilliantly retarded.
Well, actually, that brilliantly retarded is actually could be a good way of summing up, for Maya at least, for the Bay Transformer movies. It's something that Bay doesn't make good movies.
I can't.
He does not make good movies. That's all there is to it. However,
No.
that's not to say that he can't make fun movies.
Yeah, there are two different measures for what makes a movie worth seeing. Is the movie good, and is the movie awesome?
Yeah.
And like, I've spent hours watching people who will ruminate deeply on a Bruno Mattei film.
Yeah.
And so I can't really and I've seen them and I love them. Reb Brown screaming his head off, shit exploding.
Stupid as
plots ripped directly off of blockbusters.
Stupid as hell.
Dumb as heck. But people watch them because they're fun.
People take the time to hunt these down because you can't find them in the United States.
Yeah. Well, also, let's... I have my analogy. I'm going to kick the analogy out. Nobody thinks McDonald's makes good food. And a lot of people would question whether it counts as food at all. But everyone fricking eats there.
At some point in your life.
If anybody says that they...
Unless you were raised vegan, in which case I'm deeply sorry. You've gone to McDonald's. You've eaten that crap.
Right.
You've probably enjoyed it at least once. You may have been 5, but you enjoyed it.
And for our audience, it may have just been the cheap plastic toy that got them through the door, but they ate that hamburger.
Yeah, I've actually got a... Well, actually, last time I did, I just bought the toy straight.
Yeah. But Michael Bay is the McDonald's of movies.
That's pretty good summation.
Million served. You may regret it later. You may not even remember what it tasted like, but you were there.
It's... Like I said, I will say that I unironically enjoyed all 3 Transformers movies, even Revenge of the Fallen, while admitting, okay, the first one, you can argue on its quality. The other 2, not so... I mean, they're not great movies. They're not good movies. But I had a blast. The way I like to put it, my adult thinky brain took its medicine, went in the bedroom, and had a nice long mini vacation, and leaving my inner 7-year-old to the care of the Bay and Spielberg babysitting service, where they fed it Cocoa Puffs and Skittles. and took it to the amusement park and put it on all the twirly rides, disregarding the height requirements.
And the fact that you're eventually going to throw up, but you'll feel better a minute afterward.
You're going to puke, but during that time, you're just... "Ah!" That's kind of how... I mean, that's...
Yeah. Devastator's Robo-Testicles was throwing up after the tilt-a-whirl, and then we just kind of go on from there.
Seeing John Turturro in his skivvies throwing up.
Yeah. Although John Turturro is one of the saving graces of the entire series.
God,
he's plenty of fun. I just one of my friend Ron, was famous for having complained after having gone to see Revenge of the Fallen. No, it wasn't Revenge. It was Dark of the Moon. That Alan Tudyk's character was well developed and interesting with just a few lines of dialogue, and why the heck couldn't they do that for the robots?
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's a ton of shortcomings to be. I mean, hard to follow. Dark of the Moon did better, if only because the technical limitations of 3D forced him to not have a spider monkey holding the camera. But
that. And I want to take a brief digression to talk because we were at which BotCon was it where we got to see the preview for Revenge of the Fallen?
Oh, that would have had to have been 2009, wouldn't it?
Right. Yeah, we are at the studio.
Yeah.
We went on the studio tour. We got to see it in the studio screening, like 15 minutes of the movie in the studio screening theater.
The Bumblebee Ravage
that's one of the
Rampage fight with the...
Right. And I have to say that one of the things that I can lambast Bay for is that when we saw that preview footage before it was finished, you could follow every punch and kick of it because they weren't shaking the camera artificially. And then, because I remember coming out of it, I was talking to one of my friends the next day on the phone from the convention, talking about how they figured out not to shake the camera around during the robot fights. Color me an imbecile when it comes out. But, again, rolling back to Ninja Turtles. We've got another thing that we can tell the Ninja Turtles fan base, in that... Even worst case scenario, even if the thing is a travesty, if it stomps on everything in canon that you think is important, even if worst case scenario, the Ninja Turtles are aliens. Worst case scenario, one of them winds up getting characterized like Mudflapper Skids. Anything like that. You will benefit from this more than
Unless the movie... somehow, completely
tanks,
which I have a hard time seeing, just simply because of the attachment. Transformers, if you spent any time in the fandom, it is almost an act of willful denial to say that Transformers has not benefited from having even just the first movie. Never mind 3 movies that have made $11 bajillion.
Not just that. Not just it's made a lot of money. Not just it's brought in a lot of new people. Not just it's gotten us an awesome video game spin-offs and things like that. Because the Fall of Cybertron would not be happening without that movie. What it brought back a lot of the G1-ish stuff that was just gone. Bumblebee is back because of that.
They could not. They didn't have the trademark for a long time, and they didn't feel it was worth the time and effort to secure it until the movie came along.
Right, and so we had Hotshot, who was a different type of character but filled that basic role. We had Sparkplug, the Minicon, who was also kind of an homage, but we didn't have Bumblebee. And as a kid, I had my 2 highest-ranking toys in the Transformers line that I had were Bumblebee and Soundwave. Both of them spies, and so I had nifty little espionage missions and stuff going.
I only ever had Goldbug myself, but that's, I actually didn't have that many Transformers as a kid because they were more expensive.
My My mom pulled a Hail Mary pass and somehow found me a Bumblebee. They were almost impossible to find. But yeah, so I'm very attached to both characters. I'm not immune to nostalgia. I really am not. I just try to fight it when I can.
Unreasonable nostalgia.
But unreasonable nostalgia. Yeah, but Bumblebee's one of the obvious things, because Bumblebee was one of the 4 Transformers that everybody remembers. Everybody knew.
I think you gotta be careful
maybe.
here, because Ninja Turtles doesn't quite have. I mean, Ninja Turtles has a massive cast, but as far as core goes, you're basically down to half a dozen.
They've got 7 characters. It's the 4 Turtles, it's Splinter, it's Shredder, and it's April.
Casey
Those are the core.
shows up often enough to where he's, probably low A to high B. Actually, I think by this point he's probably A-list by now. I know the original cartoon kind of steered away from him because, come on, the guy's a psycho.
Well, yeah, he fills a couple of interesting roles. One, he's a fun human character, and 2, he kind of he gives the possibility for April to have a love interest, which diffuses some kind of questions.
He does also kind of diffuse a little bit of the crazy of the whole thing, because if we've got Casey here, then apparently the humans are just as nuts as the whole premise of Turtles.
Goongala Goongala!
I
Dude fucking took on the Shredder in a burning antique store. He is one of my favorite characters from the series. Has no... You know what? Casey, I think, was one of the characters that was my turnaround on that childhood. Who the fuck cares about the characters that aren't Batman, who don't have superpowers?
I know. I actually read a fair
Casey...
amount of the original Laird comics. I've got it somewhere. The original, the self-published trade paperback of the original half dozen or so, and I remember reading. I would pick up the odd issue, and Casey was the one that I enjoyed just because he was completely batshit. And I was always a little disappointed when I was, offhand watching the cartoons and just, oh, where's Casey? What's going on? But
yeah, well, the Shredder comes back, attacks them in April's antique store, and there's, Casey walking in, hey, you guys aren't the same group of nice looking dudes that I followed in here. Whips out with the sticks and goes head to head with the Shredder in a burning store.
Yeah, but I mean,
I am down with that character.
The Ninja Turtles I do think that the whole Ninja Turtles thing will benefit. I mean, the movie is probably going to make a good chunk of money. Kids like the Turtles. I don't think that kids have apparently liked the Ninja Turtles for quite a while. It's become an evergreen thing, to use an industry term. It's a property that they can repolish, bring back every now and then, like Transformers does. They just kind of start over, grab a few of the elements that worked, and start over. Kids continually like it. Kids may not, and it does bring in kids, and they're like, oh, look, comic of the old stuff. And I do think that the money thing is an important thing, because Transformers in particular... oh my god, are we spoiled now? We get I remember when Beast Wars was the number 3 selling toy behind Star Wars and Power Rangers. Occasionally number 4 behind wrestling. For boys. Right. And we were lucky to get 22 figures a year. We get 22 figures a wave now. A case assortment, hitting the major price points will exceed what we got in a year. But that's the other thing. Going back to my point about Bumblebee, the movie also brought back Ratchet, brought back Ironhide, characters that had long since been just abandoned in favor of other people to fill those roles. Jazz had been around since Generation 2. Jazz brought back. I mean, Jazz. This is even forgiving. Really, this is even forgiving the fact that for 5 years we were with Beast Wars and you couldn't really bring those characters back. You had a good 5 years of the Unicron trilogy. Right. That. No. Yeah, It had gotten to the point where Transformers would always give you an Optimus, it would always give you a Starscream, and Megatron. It would always give you a Megatron. But anything else
Anything else was a gamble. And
You
this
had
brought
certain
back those
archetypes,
core
but
characters from my childhood.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, they weren't going to bother trying to get Ratchet's name back. They had Red Alert, and what did the kids care? They had Ironhide's name, but it was never applied to that character type.
So I mean, if you've got somebody,
So there's that.
let's face it, if you've got with that, you get a lot better chance of seeing some of those cartoon and early comic figures that haven't really been around. I mean, I admit I haven't really followed the 2000 series that much, so I don't know who they haven't brought back. But let's face it, if you're a fan of Wingnut and Screwloose, they've got a chance now.
Right, because one of the other things is that money helps us in a way that it doesn't help the general comic book movies and things like that, because everything we love is merchandising when it comes down to it. It's stuff that sold as action figures. I feel disappointed when I go into a movie and I don't feel like it's trying to sell me something. I feel neglected. I feel like it doesn't care about me. And that's just because I grew up in the 80s and there was nothing that was just a cartoon. And if there was, it was confusing. You'd watch frickin' Dinosaurs and you're like, where the frick are the toys?
Deregulation.
Yeah. But, we're very much products of our time. That hasn't changed. No matter what happens with a movie, the Ninja Turtles, there will be figures. There'll be toys. And that movie exists to peddle toys and video games. Don't ever think anything else. It's all to prop up the merchandising empire, and just embrace it. Just love it. Because even if they never show up on screen, if the company making the figures thinks that they can put a Bebop and a Rocksteady in that line,
I'd buy a Bebop
they
and
will.
Rocksteady. I probably would.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's
always liked them.
It's like I said. I mean, Transformers. We got a friggin' Straxus. Some of you are probably going, "Who the hell is Straxus?" And that's my point exactly. The dude showed up for 2 issues of the American comic book, and only because they needed a main bad guy on Cybertron. And yeah, because Megatron and Shockwave were. Well, they killed him probably just because they didn't need him after that. I don't think, if Shockwave hadn't been on Earth already, they probably would have used him. But yeah, he shows up in 2 issues, gets killed. And he's really little more than generic, I kill everybody, you are stupid, and I am evil, and kill my own subordinates. We got a friggin' toy of him.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking a toy that was made for somebody else and then turned into him. We got a dedicated, designed, meant to be this guy, has his pickaxe weapon, has his silly details. We got a dedicated, expensive to produce toy, specifically for this 2-issue dude.
Character. And who does he get redecoed into with an alternate head? Skullgrin. From beyond
the age of or to how some people would put it, that Gen 2 crap. Generation 2 is whenever you stop watching.
Oh. Yeah, Generation 2 is whenever you stopped watching. But yeah, I know this has been a meandering rant, but I think that we can kind of wrap up with this. It's right now, if you're in a fan panic over the idea that the Ninja Turtles might be aliens, just remember that Michael Bay is a liar. That statement can be taken a lot of different ways. If the movie sucks, it's not going to be for that reason. And no matter what happens, you're going to get action figures and video games out of it. So
you're going to
take
benefit.
the good with the bad.
Let's face it. I would rather take a crappy movie and a bunch of cool action figures that come from it than none at all. You gotta. One thing I have come to find is you take what you can. You take. Never take for granted that you're going to get what you want out of a fandom. I'm a Mega Man fan. Mm-hmm. I don't get crap.
Well, okay.
I'm not talking about games. I want my figures. I haven't had a decent action figure line since Mattel stopped making the NT Warrior stuff 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, I think you may remember when the first Toy Fair pictures of the stuff that came out for the new Thundercat series hit. And the first thing I said was, okay, it's worth it. And it was because they made a new Sword of Omens toy. And my thought was, I hadn't seen an episode yet. It wasn't out yet. Couldn't see it. And I was like, this series could suck balls. It could be, the worst turd sandwich that's ever been served. But it was going to get me a Sword of Omens toy that was decent.
Yeah.
And that was all I cared about out of it. I was able to that was my silver lining. And the fact that it's actually surprisingly well thought out and fun,
Yeah.
icing on the cake.
I'm going to paraphrase or reappropriate something that one of the big guys behind Transformers, Aaron Archer, used to be the head of the brand. Now he's like head up their IP. What's his actual title now? I can't remember what it was.
That job I really want.
He's the guy who makes sure that Transformers is Transformers, basically, now.
I think it's something like Vice President of Intellectual Property.
But the basic upshot is,
Fun
Aaron's
guy.
a great guy. Blast to hang out with and talk with. But
yeah. Always seems very tired but happy.
He once long ago, when people were complaining about redecas of toys, he was like, "We don't expect you to buy everything. We're a little stunned that you do this," and that's kind of where I've evolved to. Take the good stuff, ignore the bad. Enjoy. It's luxury. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
Have fun. Take the good stuff. Ignore the bad.
And if you can't enjoy it, and this is something that I just feel, and I've dealt with fandoms consistently since I was a kid, like going to conventions and knowing people at hobby shops and other kids,
spending any time online.
Back when it was all back when it was all AOL and such, and if you don't enjoy it, then find something else. And I don't say that, in an annoyed way. I mean, out of concern for you. Because a lot of people love crap. And the people who love crap and realize that they love crap are way happier than the people who love crap but get angry that their crap isn't awesome.
Yeah, I'm just remembering a
art.
quote from the lead singer, if you can call it singing, of Per Ubu. In one of the album notes, he was talking about going to like the Elvis conventions and the Graceland. He was just inclined. He was like, Elvis people are nicer than the people who make fun of Elvis people. It's like, I would rather hang out with people who unapologetically enjoy terrible stuff. Like, admittedly, a lot of Transformers.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is you can make fun of the stuff you love. Trust me, I waste hours on Channel Awesome every week. So I know people. I am a big fan of people who make fun of the stuff they love.
It's been, a decade of us doing
the best
the
jokes
MSTF, if you've ever been to a BotCon, where we sit there, we love this stuff, but we'll take 2 hours out of the night and just run over it.
Yeah, go to our wiki. Go to the Transformers wiki. Yeah. But yeah, it's... If it's causing you stress, it's not really worth it. And the whole thing is, of course, I'm willing to bet that most of the people who are up in arms about the idea that the Ninja Turtles are going to be aliens are up in arms because they enjoy being up in arms.
And it is easy to hate Michael Bay.
If that's your thing,
it's a bit of a cliche. Not to say he doesn't deserve some hate, but it is kind of the default setting.
Yeah,
it's almost.
I don't know if he deserves hate. I mean, you don't really. It doesn't. The lion eats a gazelle. You don't hate the lion.
Get off it, you bastards!
Yeah, the lion's just doing what comes natural, and what comes natural for Michael Bay is saying the word "awesome" and having something behind him explode.
The man is a giant 12-year-old.
But I think
we've seen him in person. We've seen him in person. Haven't actually met him, but we've been at events where he was, and the man is a giant 12-year-old.
Oh yeah. The thing is, whatever terribleness Michael Bay may bring to a project, and that's just going to be your opinion, it's not from malice. You can see it when you interact with him. He honestly thinks that what he's doing is cool. He
aside from his misinformation campaign, there's not a lot of duplicity to him when it comes to. Aside from his, the disinformation is just, I want surprises. I want there to be awesome. I want you to talk. I want excitement. And you got it. You got it.
Yeah. and you've got it. So yeah, is the Ninja Turtles movie going to be good or bad?
No clue. I'll probably
I
see
have
it.
no idea.
I've got enough interest to see
I'll
it.
probably see it too.
At the very least, in the dollar theater.
Yeah, I'll probably wind up buying a Donatello.
Really, he was always my favorite too.
But,
Gee, the geeks like Donatello. What are the fucking odds?
Right. Well. Well, yeah. Donatello was awesome. He kicked ass in the first video game. He was like the only person you were any good with in the video game. It's like you used Donatello in the side-scrolling levels, and when you went to those damn sewer levels, it was Raphael with his weak-ass Psy all the way. Because if he died, who cares?
Donatello was the only guy who could do enough damage to
also,
anything.
Donatello #1. Also, one of my favorite comic books of all time is
Donatello, I think, was the only Ninja Turtle figure I actually bought. Like I said, it was tail ending, but I just figured I had to have a Donatello as a kid.
Right. Well, like he actually got a solo issue, and it was awesome because it was basically a love letter written by
I think I had that
to
one,
Jack
actually.
Kirby.
He had the magic pen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had the cover with Donatello with the cool ass gauntlet and so forth. They made miniatures for the Ninja Turtles role playing game where they had one with Donatello with that gauntlet, and I never got one, and I was very upset. I just procrastinated until they stopped making them. But if I could track down the pewter figurine, the pewter miniatures from that role playing game, oh man, I would be all over that. Anyway, we are 43 minutes in what we plan to be a 20-minute rant, so this is probably going to be across 3 parts on YouTube. And once we eventually hopefully
welcome
get
to
on
every
Blip,
phone
maybe
conversation he and I have ever had, by the way. It's just actually, I think this one has a little more focus.
or every
and a little less profanity.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, we're not meandering off onto a little.
I haven't said fuckity fuck fuck fuck.
Anyhow,
fuck yet, so,
Oh wow, 43 minutes to the fuckity fuck fuck. Oh man. All right. Anyway, this is Trent. We're gonna have more Isle of Rangoon stuff coming up soon. We're both gonna be at BotCon
Dallas,
this year.
Texas.
BotCon is Dallas, Texas, weekend of April
26th through 29th.
26th through 29th, yeah. We're going to be in Dallas, Texas for BotCon. If you are anywhere near the area, drop in at least on a day pass. Look for us. We'll be hauling around. We currently plan to haul around the Isle of Rangoon puppets and film some stuff there. And we're really hoping to meet a lot of people that we see every year. And
we'll probably be involved
in
in a couple of events there as well. So
anyway, yeah, MSTF is back on this year, so come and show up.
There will probably be other things.
Anyway,
we won't talk about.
We have to get. Yeah, there'll be other things too. We need to. We actually need to get back to writing MSTF. So this is Trent signing out.
I'm outie, off like a prom dress. All right.
All right.